Hi, Adam Thompson here from My Mortgage. Today I'm asking a question that I get asked quite often, and that's, what's the deal with valuations? Look, they're a little bit complex and there's lots of different valuations. They're called all kinds of different acronyms, but I just want to break down the barriers and explain that a bit more so that it's a bit simpler and people can understand sort of why the banks use them and what you need to do in your part. So the main valuation we have in our line of work is a registered valuation, or an RVR as sometimes called. And what that is, it's where a registered valuer comes out and they inspect your property, they look at all the details around your property specifically, the condition that's in, etc. They then research other properties that have sold in the area, in the market recently, and they're able to put an accurate value on what your property is worth. So it's the most accurate valuation standard, and the banks have changed in recent years how they go about getting those. So they've contracted out to a company, mainly this company called Velocity, and they ensure that you get an independent valuer. So the banks need, for their regulations, to not have you choosing your own valuer in case they're a mate and they come around and they go, hey mate, jack the price up a little bit. So it's about that independence, and that's why they use this company Velocity. It is a little bit more expensive than it used to be, which is a real downside, and we think that's a real bugger, but it's just a bit of a reality in terms of how it's being done. We're seeing a standard residential house now being worth around $800 for a valuer's report. It used to be $500 or $600, and they can be up over $1,000. And especially if you're doing a build or you've got a lifestyle property, often they'll be north of $1,000. So we know it's a cost. We try and avoid them where possible, but there are some situations where you just can't. For example, if you're buying privately, the bank always want you to get a registered valuer's report because that's a way of independently verifying the value. Once again, you haven't said to your mate, let's jack the value up, and the bank are left holding a value that they don't, that isn't accurate. So, but then the big thing is, like, why do you need a valuation? So yep, that's one private sale. The other one's if you've got lower equity, less than 20%, they'll often need one. And there are a few other anomaly situations, builds or little bits and pieces where you need them. People will say, hey, but my desktop valuation, my government valuation, for example, which is your council rating valuation, depending on how you talk about them, that's high, so the bank should just take that. And that's true, but often the bank want to see your specific property and get some more detail on it, and that's where that registered valuation report comes in. So that's part of the reason why they ask for that. The other one these days is, look, I looked on homes.co.nz or my banking app or TradeMe, it said that it's worth this much. So those are valuations done based on algorithms. Very simple, going, cool, properties in your area, let's put them into a calculation, it spits out an approximate value. Sometimes, and you'll see they can have a huge band. Had someone the other day who their property was worth a little over $900,000. Well, it's value on that, but it said between 820 and 1,040,000, and it was like, well, it's a pretty big band. So that's why they like to get a registered valuer's report. So yep, we don't always agree with the need for them. We don't like spending your money, especially because we're all here about saving you money. But those are what valuations are, and that's why you need them. And the final thing I'll say is, like, they should turn them around within a week, but as we sit here in April 2021, some valuers are that busy it's taking 2 or even up to 3 weeks to get valuers reports through. So look, once again, we try and make it easy. Leave it with us. We'll give you advice on the one specific to your situation, but that's a few minutes summary of what a valuation is.